dedicated his life to serving God and humanity. His papacy was marked by commitment to the poor and a call for environmental stewardship, effort to promote dialogue, peace among all people. During his time, Pope Francis made a significant contribution to the Church and the world. He championed the cause of the marginalized people, advocated for justice and reconciliation, and inspired millions with his message of love and mercy.
Sounds of the Week on iRadio, your eye on South Sudan. Live from Juba, on air and online.
This is iRadio News.
Hello, this is iRadio 1 o'clock news. First, here are the headlines. South Sudan's Chief of Defense Forces has called on citizens in Nasir and Ulang counties of Upper Nile State to return all weapons and vehicles seized from the army during recent clashes. The Vatican's Apostolic Nuncio to South Sudan, Archbishop Simeus Patrick Hogan, has urged South Sudanese communities to heed the late Pope Francis' urgent call for peace and take on the role of peacemakers in their homeland. And Lake State Ministry of Health has diagnosed at least 24 inmates with measles at Rumbek Central Prison during an assessment of the facility, where authorities highlighted health risk caused by overcrowding. These stories and more coming to you in this news bulletin with me, Baria Johnson, and now the news in detail. South Sudan's Chief of Defense Forces has called on citizens in Nasir and Ulang counties of Upper Nile State to return all weapons and vehicles seized from the army during recent clashes. This announcement comes following the military's recapture of Nasir town, a strategic area near the Ethiopian border, from local armed youth groups known as the White Army. Earlier, Army spokesperson Major General Luruai said the SSPDF forces faced little resistance while entering the town on Sunday. The Chief of Defense Forces of the South Sudan People's Defense Forces, General Paul Nyang Majok, visited the town alongside the Deputy Chief of Staff for Military Mobilization and Disarmament on Monday, a day after the army took control of the area. Addressing the soldiers yesterday, General Nyang asked those possessing weapons and vehicles seized from the army after the March violence to return them. He also extended his appeal to members of the White Army who were involved in the fighting in order to restore security and order in the region.
ورسالة بتاعتين للمواطنين بتاع ناصر أي زول شال سلاح بتاع SSPDF كلنا رجعوا أي زول شال سلاح بتاع SSPDF كلنا رجعوا حتى كان بقى بعد 10 سنة نحن بنطلعوا من زول الناس بتاعنا اللي ماتوا هنا ده نحن دايرين أصلا بتوعنا رجعوهم. دي الرسالة بتاعتين بالنسبة للمواطنين بتاع ناصر والمواطنين بتاع أولان ويا المواطن بتاع وايد آرمي الشارك في الشغلة ده نحن دايرين سلاح بتاع SSPDF رجعوهم. نحن دايرين المدافع بتاع SSPDF بتشعلوا سواء كان كربان ولا ضوء كويس كلنا رجعوا دايرين عربات بتاعنا يشعلوا.
General Nyang urged the citizens of Nasir and Ulang counties to return to their homes and towns.
طالب بتاعي بالنسبة للشعب بتاع جنوب السودان والشعب بتاع محافظتين ناصر ولان بصفة خاص انتم شعب بتاع جنوب السودان تعالوا ناصر تعالوا يعيشوا كمواطنين بتاع جنوب السودان انتم ارجعوا ناصر وتعالوا يعيشوا كمواطنين بتاع بلد ده الجيش الموجودين ده من كل جنوب السودان ده من كل قبائل بتاع جنوب السودان وانتم كسلاطين الموجودين والشباب الموجودين في مقاطعتين ولان وناصر يعني ناصر في سلام ونانا ماشيين ده فيس 2 الايوه كله خاشي مركز انا بنقول لكم انتم ما تبايعوا زمانكم وما تسمعوا لاكاذيب القاده الموجودين هنا هم يكونوا جاهزين للاستقبال بتاعكم.
The Vatican's Apostolic Nuncio to South Sudan, Archbishop Simeus Patrick Hogan, has urged South Sudanese communities to heed the late Pope Francis' urgent call for peace and take on the role of peacemakers in their homeland. Pope Francis passed away yesterday morning, about a month after being discharged from a hospital in Rome, where he had been treated for lung complications. According to the Vatican, he succumbed to a stroke and heart attack in the Dumas Sancte Martyr residence. He was 88 years old. In his March letter, Pope Francis renewed his appeal to South Sudanese leaders to do their utmost to ease the ongoing tensions in the country. Archbishop Hogan, based in Juba, emphasized that South Sudan must remember the Pope's urgent call for peace. The Apostolic Nuncio was addressing the congregation at St. Teresa's Cathedral in Kator, Juba, on the occasion of the Pope's death.
And I think if we wish to honor his memory in this country, we must remember that concern, his ardent concern for peace, and we must try to carry on that encouragement which he gave us to work for peace, to become peacemakers in our own place and in our own land in particular. I want to quote from that post-Angelus address of March the 30th last. The Pope remarked, "I am following the situation in South Sudan with concern. I renew my heartfelt appeal to all leaders to do their utmost to lower the tension in the country. We must put aside our differences and, with courage and responsibility, sit around the table and engage in constructive dialogue. Only in this way will it be possible to alleviate the suffering of the beloved South Sudanese people and to build a future of peace and stability."
Meanwhile, the Metropolitan Archbishop of the Catholic Archdiocese of Juba, Cardinal Stephen Ameo Matimula, said Pope Francis will be remembered for championing the cause of marginalized people, advocating for justice and reconciliation, and inspiring millions globally.
We would like to remember the Holy Father, especially his life. As a leader of the Catholic Church, Pope Francis dedicated his life to serving God and humanity. His papacy was marked by commitment to the poor and a call for environmental stewardship, effort to promote dialogue, peace among all people. During his time as a Pope, Pope Francis made a significant contribution to the Church and the world. He championed the cause of the marginalized people, advocated for justice and reconciliation, and inspired millions with his message of love and mercy.
The Holy See Press Office has announced that Pope Francis' funeral prayer will take place this Saturday at St. Peter's Square. His body will be transferred to St. Peter's Basilica tomorrow to lay in state until his funeral on Saturday morning. Cardinal Giovanni Battista Re, Dean of the College of Cardinals, will preside at the Mass, which will be co-celebrated by cardinals, archbishops, bishops, and priests from across the globe. The late Pope's body will then be taken into St. Peter's Basilica and then to Basilica of St. Mary Major for entombment. Earlier on Wednesday, the coffin containing the Pope's body will be carried from the chapel of the Casa Santa Marta to St. Peter's Basilica so that the faithful may pay their respects. President Salva Kiir joined world leaders in mourning the death of Pope Francis, noting that the pontiff's effort to promote peace in South Sudan have left a mark on the country's history. Some members of the public say South Sudan's leaders should commit to Pope Francis' call for lasting peace in the country. They say the leaders in the unity government should demonstrate their commitment in the implementation of the peace deal as a respect gesture to his efforts and love for South Sudan. John Frog Banjang, a resident of POC in Juba, said the dismay of Pope Francis should be a wake-up call and a reminder to the leaders of South Sudan to recommit themselves in bringing lasting peace in the country.
فأنا بعتبره ذاته يعني هو عنده جنوب السودان له مكانة خاصة في قلب البوب فرانسيس نتمنى انه يعني القيم الانسانيه اللي ابدعها وقيم في فرنسا يعني نحن نطبقه في جنوب السودان، خاصه الغاده الدينيين بتاعنا الموجودين في جنوب السودان. يعني البوب فرنسي كان يتمنى انه يكون في سلام في جنوب السودان، لكن الغاده بتاعنا الغاده السياسيين بتاعنا خيب الظن فوق فرنسا. نحن ندعو كل الغاده بتاعنا غاده السياسيين انه يعني برضه يعني يريح شعبهم، لان الشعب تعبان، ما في استقرار، ما في المعيشه ما كويس.
On his part, Batista Armano, a resident of Juba's Gurey, said the death of Pope should not end his message of peace and reconciliation in South Sudan. He added that Pope's call for a united South Sudan should always be a priority of the leaders.
بابا فرنسا عنده لنا يعني مكان خاص في قلبه، وعنده لنا يعني وصية كثير، فأننا نتعامل إنه يعني هو مش كلام ماد وننسى كل كلمات بتاعه وكل حاجات اللي كانوا بيقولوا وكل حاجات اللي كانوا بيسويه، لأنه هو لو ما بيحبنا كان ما جاء لحد جنوب السودان ده بنفسه وبقراه، وفي نفس الزمن كمان ساق معه زعماء بتاع الدينيين الآخرين وبعدين يعني الطوائف الأخرى، وهمه كان كله في الأول هم بتاع إنه كيف جنوب السودان يستغل جنوب السودان وكيف فيها سلام، لكن نتمنى إنه الرحول ده ما يجي يكون يكمل أي حاجة اللي كان هو ماشي بمساري بتاعه، حاجات دي يكون ماشي لحد ما نحن نطلع لبرلمان ببلد بتاعنا الكل الناس بيحبوه، وبالذات زول زعيم كبير زي ده خدت لنا رسائل كثيرة إننا نتعامل به.
Abu Jas said the death of Pontiff is disheartening because he did not see lasting peace in South Sudan. A resident of Wau Town in western Bahal Ghazal State, Deng Ding, said citizens and leaders should rally behind peace and unity rather than dividing themselves, citing the call of Pope Francis.
I'm actually asking our leaders not to take it for granted, the message of peace of Pope Francis. Let them take it as a message of love, and let them actually try what they can do, whatsoever possible, to actually support the South Sudan peace. Our citizens, some of us, we don't even know why do we have a country, because we spiritually divided, we are spiritually divided. We don't unite ourselves, we don't come together as South Sudanese. We don't look at ourselves as citizens in one country. We look at ourselves as tribe. We look at ourselves as community. So, and this will never unite us. And if the politicians involved in such a character, I think we will never be in the country. So the only solution is that we have to rethink what Pope has been telling us. And we have to rethink why Pope kneel down and kiss the feet of our leaders.
You are still listening to iRadio Afternoon News. Lake State Ministry of Health has diagnosed at least 24 inmates with measles at Rumbek Central Prison during an assessment of the facility, where authorities highlighted health risk caused by overcrowding. Director General of the State Ministry of Health, Maker Maluk, confirmed the measles outbreak after he visited the prison to ascertain the condition of prisoners. He said 2 of the infected inmates were elderly men who were critically ill.
We recorded 24 prisoners that are infected with the measles cases. 2 are old men and they are severely infected. The rest are young men of 25, 30s downward. Their cases are there. They are not morally worse like the elderly 2 men who are with them. We do kind of intervention with the WHO. We send them calamine lotion to soothing their skin and severe pain, and also painkillers like paracetamol and other painkillers, at least to reduce the kind of fever that they have gone through in these 5 days in the prison. We also send them some medicine for allergy because it's itching a lot. Most of them, they have been scratching their body for the good 5 days.
Mr. Maluk further highlighted that the state prison is overcrowded and authorities find it difficult to isolate inmates with contagious diseases like tuberculosis and chickenpox. According to the health official, prison authorities have only a narrow room for emergency cases and no other effective means of disease prevention. Mr. Maluk said the rate of infection is very high and the health ministry is encouraging prison service to create a conducive environment to prevent disease outbreaks.
I recommend in our previous meeting with ICRC so that we can do more rooms within the prison. So there are enough spaces. The only problem is that the rooms were not being built very well, so that we can name those who are actually getting severe conditions should be isolated until they recover. Also, those who are mentally ill in the prison, they can also be isolated within. The only issue is that the space is there, and we discussed this with our partners, ICRC.
Mr. Maluk added that the government is collaborating with the World Health Organization to treat the inmates by supplying them with calamine lotion and painkillers to reduce fever and other symptoms. He commended the partnership with WHO and other agencies in responding to public health concerns and providing guidance to healthcare workers in the state. According to the World Health Organization, measles is a highly contagious disease caused by a virus and spreads easily when an infected person breathes, coughs, or sneezes. It can cause severe complications and even death. Measles can affect anyone, but it is most common in children. And finally, the Mundari residents of Kogi and Tijor Boomers in Terkekapayam have reconciled after deadly clashes that erupted over grazing land more than a week ago, claiming the lives of over a dozen individuals. The reconciliation ceremony held on Monday was presided over by Central Equatoria State Governor Agostino Jadala following a 3-day mediation effort led by a special committee appointed by the governor. The mediation was to restore peace between the two communities in Terkeka County, whose violent dispute had tragically resulted in loss of life and destruction. Governor Jadala urged the locals to prevent further violence, stressing the importance of cooperation and mutual understanding. In his address, he called on both men and women to be proactive in avoiding conflict, advising women to prevent their husbands from joining violent clashes.
كده انتوا عامل تهون كده جمعيات تعاونيه كده جمعيه بتاع اسماك ولا تكون اغنى ناس فربنا يبارككم كلنا مرجع تاني في مشاكل انتوا نسوان ده ما تنكتوا رجال تاكل بيموتوا سنبلا انت بتبان راجل كان ما في انت بتتعب راجل تاني كان داير سيلو حربه عشان داير في حرب سيلو حربه ده دوسو كله ما تمشي كانوا في جوا نوم في باب. شكرا لكم الناس كل الجاهنه نحن نشكر بعضنا لانه ده الليله استمنده.
Additionally, the Central Equatorial State Government has taken action to regulate the use of grazing land in the area, aiming to avoid future disputes and ensure that resources are shared peacefully among the communities. The tragic violence over grazing land highlighted the need for sustainable land management practice, which the government intends to implement to prevent further conflicts. This is iRadio News, and now to the regional and international news with Madrama James.
Thanks. Let's have a look at some of the stories making headlines in Africa and beyond. The Islamic State West Africa province ISWAP has claimed responsibility for a series of deadly attacks targeting Nigerian security forces as well as Christian civilians in Nigeria's northern eastern region earlier this month. Through 7 messages posted on its news agency AMAC, ISWAP claimed it conducted this operation, backing up the statement with a video disputing one of the assault and 2 photo albums documenting 2 other operations. The attacks in Borno State targeted a Nigerian armed barracks in Yamtak town, where it claimed it killed 3 soldiers and set the barracks ablaze. Elsewhere, Tunisian police on Monday detained Amata Swab, a prominent lawyer and fierce critic of the country's president. A lawyer told Reuters, raising human rights group concern that a crackdown on dissent will go ahead. Dozens of activists took to the street in protest, raising slogan against President Kais Saied and demanding an end to the harassment, silencing and imprisonment of critics. Swab is among the lawyers acting for opposition leaders who received a lengthy prison sentence on Saturday on conspiracy charges. Finally, U.S. stocks and the dollar plug again as President Donald Trump intensified his attacks on the U.S. Central Bank, boss calling him a major loser for not lowering interest rates. In a social media post, Trump called on Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell to cut interest rate amicably to help boost the economies, saying Powell had been consistently too slow to respond to economic developments. These are some of the stories making headlines in the region and beyond.
Thanks, Madrama. Now to the sports news with Lasuba Memo.
Thanks, Baria Johnson. In the world of sports, let's begin at home. In the latest rounds of the South Sudan Premier League, Holy Family Rumbek has overcome Bentiu City by 3-2 yesterday, while Wajum FC lost to Salama Will 2-3 in a Will derby at the Premier League level. Meanwhile, at the Juba National Stadium today, the South Sudan Cup quarter-final will commence with Majak Ajong playing Jamus FC Juba in the afternoon, while Gold Star will face Corium. In the Premier League, Manchester United are interested in signing Wolves forward Matthews Cunha this summer. The Brazilian, who has a £62.5 million release clause in his Wolves contract, is expected to leave Molineux at the end of the season. Multiple club sources have told BBC Sport the 25-year-old is one of a number of attacking options on United's short leaves, with Ipswich Town striker Liam Delap, 22, also of interest. Improving United's scoring record is a priority for head coach Ruben Amorim. Only Southampton, Leicester City, Ipswich, Everton and West Ham have scored fewer than the 38 goals United have managed into the 3 Premier League matches this season. Katy Bolter says she's not feeling any pressure as she battles to keep the British #1 ranking, with Emma Raducanu and Sonny Cartel closing in. Bolter, 28, has been the nation's leading women's player since June 2023, but has dropped down the world rankings in a top start season. Having reached a career high 23rd in November, Bolter is now 40th after winning 5 of her 10 matches this year. Raducanu is up to 49 after reaching the Miami quarterfinals last month, while Cartel's rapid rise has moved her up to 60th. That's all in the world of sports. Back to you, Baria Johnson.
Thank you, Lasuba Memo. This is iRadio News, and to end this bulletin, here are the headlines once again. South Sudan's Chief of Defense Forces has called on citizens in Nasir and Ulang counties of Upper Nile State to return all weapons and vehicles seized from the army during recent clashes. The Vatican's Apostolic Nuncio to South Sudan, Archbishop Simos Patrick Hogan, has urged South Sudanese communities to heed the late Pope Francis' urgent call for peace and take on the role of peacemakers in their homeland. And Lake's State Ministry of Health has diagnosed at least 24 inmates with measles at Rumbek Central Prison during an assessment of the facility, where authorities highlighted health risks caused by overcrowding. That's the end of iRadio Afternoon News. If there is a story or an event you would like iRadio to cover or report about, please send us a text message on +211 925 287870. It's also our WhatsApp number. Follow us on X at iRadio Juba, like our Facebook page, iRadio, subscribe to our YouTube channel at iRadio South Sudan. You can also visit our website and listen to us online at www.iradio.org. Stay tuned for the news in Arabic at 1:30 p.m. I am Baria Johnson. Thank you for listening.